may not look like much by today's standards, the opening to Final Fantasy VII was a massive technical accomplishment for its time, displaying some of the most advanced CGI available in 1997. This opening is one that is both brief and effective. It establishes three things immediately. The first is that this girl is probably going to be important, and considering that she's initially shown next to this green glowy stuff, you can safely assume that she's probably connected to it. The second is that the zoom out of Midgar simultaneously shows you the setting that you'll be in these opening moments, as well as symbolizing the massive scale of the journey you're going to be embarking on. And the third, judging by how the protagonists are fighting guards here at the station, either the protagonists aren't entirely the good guys, or there exists an oppressive force running this city-state. This simple yet effective communication lays the groundwork for everything going forward. And now, 23 years later, Final Fantasy VII Remake is on the horizon, and just recently we got to take a look at the game's opening scene in full, and it adds even more than just these same opening moments in a way that I feel is absolutely genius. Instead of beginning the game with this swirl of stars, we almost literally get a bird's eye view. Below us, we see this barren wasteland on the outskirts of Midgar. Now, we've seen the outskirts of Midgar multiple times, both in the original game and within the compilation of Final Fantasy VII, but this opening shows us this barren wasteland devoid of any life, and then the camera points to Midgar and shows us an absolutely thriving city on the inside. What's so brilliant about this is that without any words, just through camera shots, they're saying, do you see this big lifeless plot of land? This city here is literally draining the life force away from the surrounding environment. These people are able to live comfortable, technologically advanced lives, but at the cost of the planet. And this opening does that so effortlessly. But it does more than just that. When they show the inside of the city, particularly the upper plates where life in Midgar is at its best, they show you just how important this resource is to everyone's lives. It powers trains, cars, pretty much everything you need to make a modern society work. They even showed this scene with construction workers laying down new Mako pipes, as well as mechanics working on these Mako powered cars, which shows that not only have they become reliant on Mako as a resource, it's also one of the biggest sources of employment in the city. The dependence on Mako is more than just an energy resource to turn the lights on at home. It's also one that keeps food on the table. Then there's this powerful scene on the playground, which starts by reminding you again that flowers can't grow here in Midgar. We then see a Mako reactor go off with enough force to part the clouds. The particles of Mako then become the stars that we were used to from the original game's opening, and we see that same Mako being pumped from that reactor, pulsating through this leaking pipe that's in front of Aerith. That again is serving to reinforce the connection between her and the life stream. In the original, it's somewhat ambiguous, but in the remake, I feel like it's a little bit more obvious what Aerith is doing here. And it's something that a new player wouldn't immediately pick up on until their second playthrough of the game. However, Aerith is clearly communicating with the live stream. This is made more obvious by Aerith being on her knees with her eyes closed, even her fists slightly balled up. She's coming out of a deep focus, almost as if she was meditating. I thought she was so focused on communing with the live stream that she was startled by something perhaps in the distance. But then I also realized that her hearing that noise in the distance is perhaps the planet communicating with her on an intuitive level about the coming threats of Genova and Sephiroth. This is further communicated by the notes from One Winged Angel that are played as she is startled and runs away, to which this results in her being ran into and her flowers being knocked over on the ground. One of her flowers is then crushed by a man walking by, which not only symbolizes the obvious, but it also symbolizes just how apathetic the average person can be when it comes to this planetary crisis. And from here, the rest of the opening plays out in a familiar way. Modern Final Fantasy has, in my opinion, fallen into the trap of just telling us instead of genuinely showing us. But this opening goes back to its roots, showing us directly the impact of the actions taken by the major players in this world. Final Fantasy VII Remake is not only giving us the original, but it's also giving us a greater sense of context to the world these characters live in. This new opening exemplifies that, with new moments that are powerful, beautiful, and brilliantly done. And also throws in some really well done foreshadowing. But with all of that said, Ultima Weapons, I want to know, what do you think of the remake's opening? Do you like it more than the original, or maybe even less? Subscribe, click the bell icon, and let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy the content on this channel, be sure to check out the Patreon for the Night Sky Prince, where videos like these are made possible by awesome people like Chaotic. So if you're interested in supporting the channel directly, there's a link in the description below. Shout out to Chaotic and the rest of the Ultima community.